Mission accomplished. Zhao Yu clicked on the system panel and saw that his tech points had risen to 85. There was no reason to linger. Zhao Yu led his team back to the solar panel area on the west side. Upon Zhao Yu's return, the group of 10 from the shelter visibly relaxed. Commander Zhao, when are we leaving? Lu Yuan asked in nervous. When my people return, we'll leave right away. Send the signal for them to return. Zhao Yu instructed the 4 team leaders.
Bang! Bang! Bang!
3 consecutive gunshots echoed. The members of the other 3 teams began returning. It's done. All the mutants in this area have been cleared out. Zhao Yu briefly discussed with the people from the shelter. They finally decided that 10 people from Zhao's side would help with moving items, and the remaining 10 would be in charge of security. The distance from the solar panel area to the western gate wasn't far. However, by the time they reached the gate, the people from the shelter were so exhausted that they clamored for a rest. Zhao Yu had no choice but to halt and simultaneously ordered his man to chase away the beasts feasting on the mutant corpses outside the gate. After about 10 minutes, the group set out again. With constant starts and stops, a journey that should have taken 6 hours ended up taking 12 hours. It wasn't until midday the next day that they finally arrived at the shelter. Zhao Yu and his soldiers were fine, with 2 meals along the way, and they are still in good spirits. In contrast, the 10 people from the shelter appeared utterly drained. Especially during the latter half of the journey, hardly anyone had the energy to speak. Ouch! We're finally here. They laid out 20 solar panels in the open space outside the shelter, and the 10 people were completely collapsing to the ground. We're back. Someone standing at the entrance of the shelter saw them return and hurriedly went in to report. In no time, Gao Shun as the representative of the shelter appeared. Thank you for your hard work. After exchanging brief pleasantries, Gao Shun immediately sought out the electrical expert to inquire if there were any issues. With positive response, he then turned to Zhao Yu to express his gratitude. It's part of the deal. Zhao Yu responded nonchalantly. Indeed, indeed. The food has been prepared. I'll have it brought up right away. Gao Shun mobilized nearly 100 people to transport the 2 tons of grain. The bags of rice were neatly placed on the ground. A smile appeared on Zhao Yu's face. Centurion Zhao, I wonder if you'll be bringing a vehicle to transport these goods, or will you be sending more people? Gao Shun asked tentatively. Heh. Zhao Yu responded with a faint smile. This amount? They can carry it directly. No need to bring a vehicle. With that, he turned and gave the order, everyone, carry the goods. Swoosh. 20 soldiers stepped forward. With one 100 kilograms bag of rice on the left shoulder and another on the right, each was able to carry a total of 200 kilograms of grain. It's been a pleasure working with you. If there's any task in the future, send someone westwards. We have a temporary base at the chemical plant. Zhao Yu shook hands with Gao Shun and quickly followed his team and depart. The crowd was filled with admiration. These soldiers are so efficient when it comes to work. They just carried 200 kilograms worth of stuff and walked off. For the same amount of supplies, Gao Shun needed nearly 100 people from his side, while Zhao Yu's 20 men were able to handle it all on their own. Back to the base, Zhao Yu had the soldiers transport all the grain to the main base. It was the safest location by far. For this mission, even though he didn't carry any goods himself, he had supervised the entire operation. Having gone without sleep for a full 18 hours, he was utterly exhausted. Zhao Yu couldn't hold out any longer. He ordered the soldiers to take turns patrolling. Furthermore, to ensure the soldiers could adapt in his absence, he specifically issued several directives. For instance, if they encountered mutants, they were to eliminate them immediately. If confronted by a large group of mutants, some soldiers were to lure them away. If they encountered humans, they should advise them to leave. Any who ignored the warning and intruded, or attacked, were to be immediately neutralized, among other orders. Zhao Yu didn't even bother to bathe. He simply lay down and immediately fell asleep. When Zhao Yu woke up again, it was dark outside, and the daily tasks had already been refreshed. After checking the natural growth of his tech points, Zhao Yu realized he had slept for 8 hours. Technology points, 103. I can exchange for another building. Zhao Yu quickly got up and looked up at the surveillance as nothing unusual. He proceeded outside the base. At the door, two mobilized soldiers were on guard. Zhao Yu casually asked, "Any incidents?" Report, a few individuals appeared from the west. We chased them off. Living people? They weren't from the shelter, were they? They aren't anyone we've seen before. Zhao Yu continued to inquire. What did they say? They pleaded us to save them. About the danger of their Lujia village. It must be people from another place. The shelter was to the east of the base, but these people came from the west. Zhao Yu had mainly hunted in the county town or the south region. He hadn't thoroughly explored to the north and west of the base. Zhao Yu felt something was amiss. Wait a minute, how many of them? Did they have weapons? 5 people. They had weapons, so we stopped them from a distance. Zhao Yu stroked his chin, sensing an issue. If these people were seeking help, why would they head east? There are only 2 parties here, his own group and the neighboring shelter. Who would run here for help? Moreover, he only recently managed to gather 20 soldiers, and all of whom were unarmed. Zhao Yu suspected that these people might not have come with bad intention. If their Lujia village was in danger, they should have been here to seek refuge or to continue fleeing like Menghao's village. Why would they ask us to save Lujia village? Since there is no significant force here, yet they ran in this direction. There have too many suspicions. Though unable to make sense of it, Zhao Yu walked over to the power station, contemplating whether to construct a munitions factory or a tank factory. The munitions factory produces weapons, while the tank factory produces tanks. Tanks, or perhaps cars? Only conscripted soldiers could be produced in the training camp, and he needed 10 of them to unlock the next level of land infantry. Zhao Yu doubted that even if he established a tank factory, he wouldn't be able to produce tanks right away. As for weapons, Zhao Yu sent someone to take inventory of the weapons. With 20 soldiers, each had a pistol and a rifle. However, they were running low on bullets, with only a little over 300 left in total, averaging a little over 10 per person. A gun without bullets is just an iron stick. Let's take it one step at a time and set up the munitions factory first. After some contemplation, Zhao Yu decided to start establishing the weapons first. Do you want to spend 100 technology points to exchange for the munitions factory?
Yes.
Swipe. Another building sprouted from the ground, located right next to the energy station. Zhao Yu had wanted to position it according to his own ideas, but the system indicated that it could only be installed near the energy station. Currently, both his base and the energy station were set up against the walls. Once the munitions factory was established, there would be no place to position the next tank factory unless another energy station was built. I wonder if we can change locations? Zhao Yu wasn't in a hurry to enter the factory. After understanding the situation, he breathed a sigh of relief. The base could be packed up and transformed into a mobile base vehicle. When packed, other structures would also be packed along with it. They could then be reinstalled at a new location. With this in mind, he felt more at ease. He planned to inspect the other buildings in the chemical factory to find a suitable location for relocating the base. Upon entering the munitions factory and locating the control panel, Zhao Yu saw the items he could currently exchange for. The list contained only one option, Dagger Star. Only after exchanging for more than 10 daggers, pistol, be unlocked. The good news was that under the dagger option, there were multiple choices available. Dagger Iron Edge Military Dagger, Dagger Black Sun Military Dagger, Dagger Bat Military Dagger. Zhao Yu browsed through the options. The Iron Edge Military Dagger was about 30 centimeters, practically qualifying as a short knife. This military dagger could be affixed to a rifle or held in hand for combat. The dagger had 3 rhomboid edges and 2 grooves, allowing it to inject air into the body when stabbed, thus increasing its destructive power. The Black Sun military dagger was more similar to conventional daggers, about 10 centimeters in length, but was highly functional. One side was edged while the other had a barb, and the handle's end incorporated a screwdriver. It could be used for stabbing, cutting, hacking, sawing, and even clipping. Its versatility made it suitable for various environments. Additionally, there was a ring at the front of the handle, allowing it to be affixed to a rifle as a bayonet. Moreover, this dagger came with a leather sheath that could be hung around the waist or thigh, making it easy to access. The final bat military dagger had a somewhat peculiar shape. The handle was in the middle with blades on both ends. One blade pointed upwards and the other downwards. During close combat, one could adjust using the wrist, allowing for multi-angle attacks on the enemy. After a brief overview, Zhao Yu chose the Black Sun military dagger due to its strong functionality and ease of carry. Black Sun military stab. Exchange requirement: 500 grams of iron, 100 grams of leather. Note: leather can be artificially synthesized. Pre-construction: the chemical plant. The price is not expensive. Moreover, it doesn't require any technology points. Zhao Yu was delighted when he saw the exchange results. The munitions factory was better than the training camp, and exchanging items didn't require technology points. I wonder if it's because the daggers are too simple? With that thought, Zhao Yu quickly called over a group of men. Set out now and hunt down some wild animals to bring back. The leather was required. The system didn't specify any particular type of skin, implying that any animal's hide would suffice. The production of daggers was temporarily halted, but Zhao Yu was in no rush. He once again summoned 2 more teams. You, head into the chemical plant and assess any potential dangers inside. Understood. Only one team remained in the vicinity of the base. Zhao Yu instructed them to spread out and patrol while he continued to study the various structures in detail. The chemical plant can transform all kinds of synthetic elements. The raw materials needed for the chemical plant are all kinds of mineral resources. You can build a mining plant to identify and collect mineral resources. You can collect mineral resources through the mining carts produced by the tank factory. With more investigation into the system, Zhao Yu finally understood the situation of this base. Most of it was similar to the lunar base. With technology points, one could only exchange for production lines. Other raw materials wouldn't magically appear. He would need to find actual materials to manufacture them. Most chemical elements could be synthesized in chemical plants, with various mineral resources as the raw materials. Whether it's the training camp or the recycling furnace, they are all stripped-down versions, able to recognize only a small portion of resources. To avoid waste, a resource recycling furnace needs to be built. Anything thrown into it can be fully recognized and categorized for storage. Tank factory, power station, chemical plant, resource recycling furnace, mining factory. Zhao Yu counted and realized that he would need at least 500 technology points to build all these facilities. Furthermore, these are just the basics. There are even more buildings waiting for him to unlock in the future. Technology points are too scarce. Only then did he find the time to check today's daily tasks. This is a chemical plant? After confirmed the mark on the task map, Zhao Yu was surprised to find that today's daily task was actually in this chemical plant. Daily mission: clean up all the facehuggers in the chemical factory. Facehuggers? Alien? According to the name, it seemed to be very similar to a sci-fi movie he had known.
Da.
Intense gunshots suddenly sounded from the chemical plant. He quickly gathered the remaining 5 people, rushing toward the source of the gunfire. When he arrived at the scene, the members of the second and third teams were fiercely firing at a group of wriggling insects on the ground. Similar to the ones in the Alien movie, a chill ran down Zhao Yu's spine. Help out! With a shout from Zhao Yu, he charged forward. With the addition of the 6 of them, the number of insects on the ground rapidly decreased, and in no time, they were all dead. What happened? Zhao Yu's voice trembled as he asked. Aliens, that movie that gave him a nightmare during his childhood, and he hadn't expected them to exist in reality. Report, sir. As we passed by some chemical containers over there, they suddenly flew out? Man-made? Zhao Yu first considering the advanced genetic technology in this world. Creating such monsters seemed plausible. However, he quickly noticed something was amiss. Only 6 members remained. Where are the other 4? Over there. The land infantry pointed to the distance. Indeed, 4 soldiers lay twitching on the ground, their faces covered by facehuggers. Not far from them, several large vats, over a meter high, were filled with a greenish, unidentified liquid. Damn it! In such an environment, who knew if there were any more facehuggers lurking? He didn't dare to approach and investigated at the dead facehugger, noticing that the ground beneath has corroded. This indicated that their blood was indeed corrosive, similar to sulfuric acid like the movie. 4 of you. drag them back. Clench your teeth tight. Don't let those bugs crawl into your mouths. For soldiers quickly moving forward, each dragging a twitching comrade back. Zhao Yu kept a vigilant eye on those vats. To his relief, no new facehuggers emerged until the four were back. This suggested that all the facehuggers in the building had already come out and had been dealt with by them.
Young.
Kacha. At this moment, a strange sound came from the soldiers lying on the ground. The image of his breastbone shattering involuntarily flashed across Zhao Yu's mind. Be careful, they have parasites inside that are about to emerge. Prepare to kill them. Zhao Yu quickly stepped back, leaving the situation to the others. Whiz! Just after he spoke, a creature burst out from the chest of one of the soldiers.
Bang!
Land Infantry number 001 fired immediately, instantly hitting the creature that had came out. Sizzle! The small alien shrieked twice before lying motionless on the ground. Its green blood corroded the ground, leaving an indent. In terms of corrosiveness, this little alien seemed even stronger than the facehuggers. Whiz-dash, whiz-dash, whiz-dash. One small alien each emerged from the abdomens of the other three soldiers.
Bang, bang, bang.
3 gunshots rang out, instantly killing the 3 small aliens that had jumped out. This made Zhao Yu breathe a sigh of relief. Fortunately, they were killed before they grew bigger. Once the aliens grown into mature size and developed their exoskeleton armor, they wouldn't be easily killed by just rifles and pistols. He had the soldiers fire several more shots into the small aliens and the dead facehuggers, then ordered them to drag away these creatures and the incapacitated soldiers. Once back near the base, Zhao Yu relaxed slightly, followed by a sense of immense relief. Thankfully, when he first arrived, he didn't rashly venture deep into the chemical plant, but set up camp near the entrance. If he had gone in at that time and awakened those facehuggers, he might already be dead. Damn it! I was wondering how the hell this world suddenly ended up in an apocalypse. Even a nuclear war shouldn't knock humans off the top of the food chain. Now, it seemed like someone brought this upon themselves. He suspected that the mutated beasts weren't just caused by radiation, but possibly created by some large genetic technology corporation. These creatures might have gotten out of their control, resulting in a catastrophe. Zhao Yu delved into the memories of the original host, searching for the ownership of the chemical plant. Guangzhou Group. The chemical plant belonged to the Guangzhou Group. Even though they were also into biotechnology, their genetic research didn't seem to be as advanced as the Reed Group. Mutants, radiation, aliens. Zhao Yu felt overwhelmed and cursed vehemently. This damned world. Something was not right. Zhao Yu suddenly realized that it's been several years since the apocalypse in this world, but he had never heard of the existence of aliens. He had gone over the recent years' memories several times and hadn't found any instance of aliens running rampant. Unless the aliens were just created. These facehuggers in the chemical plant were also newly produced and transported here. The purpose, was it for experimentation? If it was an experiment, there should be monitoring equipment. After circling around the perimeter wall, he indeed found a concealed camera. Damn it, they have surveillance. Zhao Yu realized that it was still operational. He quickly called someone over to remove the surveillance equipment. Zhao Yu breathed a sigh of relief. The device stored data locally, and the content hadn't been taken by anyone yet. Currently, with the rampant nuclear radiation damaging wireless signals, it inadvertently resolved a potential issue for him. Someone come. Zhao Yu called over some soldiers and instructed them to search the vicinity and locate all the surveillance equipment. About half an hour later, 6 sets of surveillance devices were placed before Zhao Yu, all with local storage. Unfortunately, without a computer, they couldn't access the content, or they'd know when these devices were installed. We can't stay here. After collecting the surveillance devices nearby, Zhao Yu swiftly sent people back to the places they had been before, especially the building containing the facehuggers, to search for its monitoring equipment. As he suspected, just in that single building, they found over 20 surveillance devices of various types. These facehuggers are indeed sent out for experimentation by some large organization. That means they'll probably come back to retrieve the content from these surveillance devices. Zhao Yu looked up at the sky, aware that satellites existed in this world. Even though they couldn't communicate with the ground, they could certainly be controlled from space to monitor the situation on Earth. I can only hope they have set up multiple experiment sites and haven't focused on this location yet. Zhao Yu made up his mind. Once this mission was completed, he would immediately pack up the base and relocate elsewhere. Meanwhile, the hunting party that had gone out returned, bringing back the bodies of 7 wolves. The wolf skins were peeled off and thrown into the recycling furnace of the munitions factory. This provided enough leather for exchanging daggers. Do you want to spend 5,000 grams of iron and 500 grams of leather to create 10 daggers, Black Sun military stab? Yes. The time it took to make daggers was still all right, 1 per minute. 10 minutes passed. Zhao Yu did not even bother checking if the dagger was working. He opened the control panel again. Handgun unlocked. Create 10 pistols and unlock rifle options. Like the dagger, there are multiple styles within the category of handguns: revolvers, semi-automatics, and fully automatics. Each style has different bullet capacity, power, range, and firing rate, allowing selection based on individual needs. The cheapest to exchange is the revolver, the semi-automatic is moderately priced, and the most expensive is the fully automatic. It can fire continuously and would more accurately be termed a submachine gun. It's larger and longer than a regular handgun. Revolver. Requirement: 10 grams of silver, 100 grams of tin, 1,000 grams of iron. Do you wish to spend 100 grams of silver, 1,000 grams of tin, and 10,000 grams of iron to make 10 revolvers?
Yes.
This time, the production time for a single handgun increased to 5 minutes, and 10 handguns took 50 minutes. The prolonged wait allowed Zhao Yu to gradually calm down. They probably won't come anytime soon. His urgency stemmed from the perception that the opposing force was much stronger than him. After all, they were able to install surveillance and had managed to transport the facehuggers from an unknown distance for experimentation. This indicated that the opposing force was formidable, at the very least having the capability to deploy helicopters, and possibly even having fighter jet escorts. Zhao Yu also understood that panicking would not help. Handling the immediate concerns was the priority. He took a deep breath and exited the munitions factory, directing his men to sequentially send the various bodies into the recycling furnace. First to be sent were the 4 immobilized soldiers. As he had expected, unlike with Soldier 001, the internal chips in the brains were all destroyed and couldn't be reused. Then, the pile of facehuggers' corpses was sent into the recycling furnace. It was actually displayed as special flesh. Special flesh? Zhao Yu was startled for a moment, and he ordered his men to throw in the 4 small aliens as well. The number of special flesh immediately increased. What's special flesh? Essential materials used to create special troops. Special troops? Could it be possible to create an alien that I can control? Unfortunately, he was still far from the point where he could exchange for special troops, so there was no way to know exactly what kind of soldiers he could create using the special flesh. For the next while, Zhao Yu contemplated where to relocate the base. The place he was most familiar with was the previous photovoltaic electronics factory. There was ample open space there, and the mutants had just been cleared out, making it an ideal location. Once the facehuggers inside this chemical factory were dealt with, the only remaining threat would be the neighboring refuge. Only the people from that refuge knew he was here, and there were at least 800 of them, well armed. They was staying deep underground, originally built to evade nuclear attacks. With his current strength, it would be challenging to breach. After much contemplation, Zhao Yu couldn't come up with a perfect solution. After 50 minutes passed by, Zhao Yu hurriedly made his way to the munitions factory. Rifle unlocked. Create 10 rifles. Unlock machine guns. Glancing at the list of rifles, there was a wide variety. Standard rifles, cavalry rifles, assault rifles, sniper, and flamethrowers. When Zhao Yu saw the flamethrower, I knew this thing existed. However, upon checking the materials required to make a flamethrower, Zhao Yu was speechless. While standard materials like copper, iron, and silver were available, there was a specific chemical element called butane that was lacking. This thing can only be produced once the chemical plant is operational, right? Zhao Yu had no choice but to temporarily abandon the idea of getting flamethrowers. He initially planned to obtain several flamethrowers to burn down the entire chemical factory. But now, it seemed that the soldiers would have to clear it out little by little. Zhao Yu headed to the training camp. He had lost 4 soldiers in the recent conflict, leaving him with only 16 men. He needed to replenish his numbers. After the series of exchanges he had made, the resources Zhao Yu had on hand were significantly reduced. Technology points: 5. Gold, 618 grams. Silver, 1,622 grams. Copper, 8,235 grams. Iron, 17,423 grams. Snare, 12,122 grams. Cloth, 81,693 grams. Normal flesh, 511 kilograms. Special flesh, 78 kilograms. I only have enough technology points to exchange for 5 soldiers. Zhao Yu had no choice but to exchange for 5 soldiers. The number of soldiers under his command increased from 16 to 21. I can hold off on exchanging for guns for now. With 20 rifles, I just need to supplement with 1 more rifle. I should exchange for some bullets. When he found the bullets corresponding to each type of firearm, he was headache again. No matter the type of bullet, some used brass casings and some used steel. However, the propellant was always a chemical element. Double-base nitrocellulose, nitroguanidine, sulfur, saltpeter. Zhao Yu realized that he lacked the propellants required for any of the bullets. He picked up the 10 revolvers he had exchanged earlier, only to find that none of them were loaded. He couldn't help but curse, "Damn, why give me a gun without bullets?" Zhao Yu felt helpless. The base couldn't magically produce these items. Many things required raw materials. What should I do? He gathered his soldiers to check the ammunition. They only had about 100 rounds left, which was far from enough. Inside the chemical plant, similar to the building he had previously inspected, there were at least 10 more buildings. Worst case scenario, all the chemical buildings housed facehuggers. Best case, only 2 buildings had them. Zhao Yu called over a soldier and instructed, "Go to the nearby shelter and borrow some bullets. If they don't want to lend, try to barter with food. Go now." After waiting another 40 minutes, and with some natural growth in tech points, Zhao Yu exchanged another soldier. Meanwhile, the soldier who went to the shelter returned. Report, they said they are also short on bullets and won't lend. What about trading? They refused. Bullets are too scarce for them. Zhao Yu afraid that he couldn't complete the mission. If he delayed any longer, he might be in danger. Put a sign at the entrance, like, "Danger, do not enter," and draw a skull on it.
Yes.
After these measures were taken, Zhao Yu approached the base. Following instructions, he sequentially collected the munitions factory, training camp, and energy station. This is the system's power. Watching the 3 buildings vanish, Zhao Yu realized that the system was powerful. This kind of technology was previously discussed with Uncle Da. With their current level 3 base, if they max out the quantum tech tree, they could achieve this. Zhao Yu went to the base's entrance and chose the transformation mode. The next moment, the mini-base transformed into a base vehicle, about 4 to 5 meters long. Before he built the 3 extra buildings, he could even completely retract the mini-base. But with those extra 3 buildings, if he fully retracted the base, those buildings would disappear and need to be rebuilt once again. Transforming into a base vehicle meant he could later deploy those 3 buildings again. Zhao Yu climbed into the base vehicle, finding it operable, but with only 2 seats. He called over a soldier to drive, while he himself sat in the passenger seat. After a final look at this place, he ordered everyone to move out, heading towards the photovoltaic electronics factory. Buzz! What's that sound? At the 3-way junction, Zhao Yu suddenly heard a strange noise. He immediately thought of something, urgently pointing to the woods nearby, telling the driver, "Quick, drive into the woods." The driver swiftly turned the wheel, and after a few jolts, parked the vehicle in the woods. "Turn off the engine, everyone hide." Zhao Yu peeked out, quickly assessing the situation above, and ordered accordingly. Soon, all 22 soldiers hid themselves in different spots. Zhao Yu got out of the vehicle, climbed up a tree, and looked up at the distant sky. Buzz! The humming sound from the sky grew louder, and in a short while, 2 armed helicopters flew over the woods. Zhao Yu's eyes followed the helicopters and predicted their direction. That direction was exactly where they had just left, the chemical factory. After a while, the sound of the helicopters faded but never completely disappeared. The helicopters circling around the chemical factory. It's the organization that placed the facehuggers. Thank God we left in time. Zhao Yu felt somewhat relieved, but at the same time, he pondered a question. Had the system noticed something and therefore assigned him a mission in advance? There's a high chance. If such a large organization noticed several buildings suddenly rising from the ground here, it would certainly attract attention. We can't stay here. After confirming there were no other flying objects, he returned to the vehicle. Quick, we must leave this place. Soon, the vehicle was back on the main road, continuing along its previous route. After about 20 minutes, they have arrived at the outskirt of the county town, and they noticed mutants wandered around. One of the soldiers instinctively raised his gun, preparing to shoot the mutants once they got closer. All of you, fix bayonets. Everyone else, stand by and do not fire. Zhao Yu quickly stopped them. 10 soldiers who received Black Sun military stab immediately fixed them onto their rifle muzzles. At the same time, the mutants in the distance noticed their movements and began to charge. Charge! The 10 soldiers charged with their bayonets. Pairing up, they easily took down several of the mutants. Keep moving, take this route. Zhao Yu pointed towards the right-hand road. There was a county road on the outskirts of the town, which led directly to the chemical plant. The road was in disrepair with numerous potholes, but it was still better than carving out a new path through the forest. Along the way, whenever Zhao Yu encountered a hole, he filled it. If they came across a broken bridge, he had people carry the base vehicle across the river. After several breaks, they finally reached the photovoltaic electronics factory around 3 in the morning. When they arrived at the west gate, the previously mountainous piles of alien corpses had disappeared, completely devoured by nearby animals. This photovoltaic factory was a centralized solar power station with an installation capacity of 100 megawatts, covering 1,800 acres. Apart from a few buildings in the central area, most of the open space was covered with solar panels. Inside the factory, there were internal roads, double-laned, for the convenience of employees to conduct maintenance. This saved Zhao Yu a lot of trouble, allowing him to drive directly into the core area. The core area consisted of only 5 buildings: 1 operation building for controlling solar power generation, 1 office building, 2 dormitories, and 1 canteen. Zhao Yu looked around. The areas were silent with no indication of what might be inside. One team stay here, everyone else, pair up and check all the buildings for dangers. Understood. The soldiers quickly dispersed following Zhao Yu's instructions. After about half an hour, searched through all 5 buildings and killed dozens of mutants trapped inside, they declared the area safe. Zhao Yu led a team to find the topographic map of the photovoltaic electronics factory. These 5 buildings were situated towards the east, not precisely in the center. After setting up the base, there would be many more buildings to place, so advanced planning was needed. After some deliberation, Zhao Yu finally chose a parking lot not far from the 5 buildings. Setting up the base in the parking lot meant they could expand to the west by removing some solar panels later on as more buildings were constructed. Please choose the location of the base. Zhao Yu followed the system's instructions and parked the MCV at a suitable location before retreating to a safe distance. Right here. Shwa. The MCV began to transform again. After some expansion, the square base appeared again. Please choose the location of the energy station, training camp, and munitions factory. With his previous experience, Zhao Yu did not place the energy station next to the base. Instead, he placed it 2 empty spaces apart. After setting up the energy station, the training camp and the munitions factory were placed next to each other. After doing all this, the sky gradually lit up. Zhao Yu looked at his resources. The other resources remained the same, and were still quite abundant. The main thing that was scarce was the technology points. After a night of natural recovery, it became 8 points. Inside munitions factory, Zhao Yu opened the control panel. Land infantry, 4 out of 10. Next level unlocked. Special forces? This time, he didn't exchange for soldiers. Instead, he spent 8 technology points to exchange for 4 land infantry. At this point, he had a total of 8 land infantry and 18 soldiers under his command. A total of 26 soldiers could be divided into 5 teams. Infantry, 8 out of 10. I need 2 more to unlock the special forces. Zhao Yu realized that he had more than enough resources to exchange for 2 land infantry. The only thing he lacked were technology points. This meant that in another 4 hours, he could unlock the special forces. Use the naturally accumulated technology points for training soldiers, while the daily tasks tech points should first be used to set up the tank factory, Zhao Yu thought. Although he had unlocked the munitions factory, he was constrained by some rare materials. This meant he could get guns but not bullets. The munitions factory was almost useless. Only by quickly setting up a resource recycling furnace and a mining factory could he strengthen his combat power. If today's incomplete task could be completed, he could save a day. For now, he would have to wait until 6 or 7 in the evening to refresh the next daily task. First and second squads, you go out to collect resources. Whatever you find, be it gold, silver, copper, iron, tin, cloth, or even creatures, bring it back. Find food based on your condition? Understood. Third and fourth squads, you're responsible for the base's security. Patrol. Within this area? Understood. After assigning tasks to the squads, Zhao Yu took out a map and called the 5th squad over. The 5th squad consisted of the newly trained 4 land infantry and 2 soldiers. They were the strongest among the 5 squads. There's a town here. Go and investigate if there are any survivors or mutants, and report back. Understood. The town Zhao Yu mentioned wasn't Menghouse Village, but another town in the northeast direction from the photovoltaic plant. To acquire resources, they needed to explore more places. After giving out the tasks, Zhao Yu had a quick meal and then went to sleep. His biological clock was still set to being active at night and resting during the day. At shelter number 12988, over 100 people were discussing. That's Zhao Yu's team, right? It could be. Only a big organization like theirs could own such helicopters. I wonder what kind of force they are. Some speculated they were remnants of the old military, while others thought they might belong to a wealthy consortium. Soon after, Gao Shun led a group of armed individuals out. Many approached him, curious about the situation. Everyone who's currently on the surface, come with me. Why? What are we doing now? Before the crowd could complain, Gao Shun interrupted them. You'll be rewarded with 10 work points each. 10 points? I'm in. Me too. Immediately, over 100 people clamored, expressing their desire to accompany the group. All right, everyone can go. Once we return, you'll all be registered. Gao Shun took the lead and headed west. The others, witnessing his actions, hastily followed, forming a grand procession of more than 100 people departing. After their departure, the refuge soon saw the emergence of 2 squads, each consisting of 10 armed personnel, hurriedly making their way north. Approximately 10 minutes later, the 10 armed men returned, also bringing with them 2 large iron boxes. Not long after they had returned with the iron boxes, the once open gates of the refuge, accompanied by the sound of machinery, slowly began to close. Menghouse Village. Over 300 individuals gathered, all sitting on the ground. Meng Xian announced, all in favor of relocating and setting up a new base at the photovoltaic electronics factory, raise your hands. With a collective whoosh, the majority raised both their hands. Xiao Lu stood up in disapproval, questioning, we just finished building here, and now we're relocating? Li Na, who sat next to him, also rose to her feet, chuckling, Lu Zi, how can this place compare to the comfort of the photovoltaic factory? That place has electricity. If we don't seize such an opportunity, others will claim it before we know it. The mutants there are not few in number, at least a couple hundred. Come on, we have so many people. Why should we fear them? Exactly, Brother Lu. If you're scared, just stay here. Leave the task of clearing the photovoltaic factory to us. Seated on the same row with them were 11 other individuals, all of whom were level 1 enhancers. Some had followed Meng Xian here from the very beginning, while others had arrived later, including Xiao Lu, Li Na, and Meng Xian. Menghouse Village's count of enhancers was 14. The majority agrees to the relocation to the photovoltaic factory. The proposal to relocate has been accepted. Those willing to clear out the mutants, Please sign up now. For every mutant killed, you'll earn 5 contribution points. Xiao Lu, are you going? Xiao Lu, stiffening his neck in defiance. Of course I'm going. I'm no coward. Filled with enthusiasm, Meng Xian declared, Great. Every department, prepare yourselves. At 8 o'clock tonight, the combat teams will march with me. In a certain sea area, a submarine began to sink rapidly. In an instant, it had descended to the ocean floor over 2,000 meters deep. Activate the photic sensors. Aboard the submarine, a man dressed in military attire with a scar across his face intently stared at the monitor and spoke slowly. With the activation of the detection equipment, the screen displayed countless bright points, resembling stars. Target detected, ranging from 1,000 to 2,000 in number. Release the plankton. Prepare to lure. Following the scar-faced man's order, a large number of tiny plankton were released. On the screen, many bright points began to move in response to the appearance of the plankton. At the same time, a suction force emerged from beneath the submarine, and a vast amount of seawater was drawn into it. Only when the bright points on the monitor completely vanished did the scar-faced man order, "Close the water intake." He hurriedly proceeded to the lower level of the submarine, arriving at a location resembling a pool filled with seawater. Several workers dressed in white lab coats were busily working. The scar-faced man glanced around, finding nothing unusual about the water in the pool. He inquired, "May I see these little creatures?" "Of course, Captain." A worker in a white lab coat handed over a head-mounted device to the scar-faced man. Upon donning the special apparatus, he quickly observed the pool. Within the previously dark seawater, numerous transparent floating creatures, each with numerous tentacles, appeared. So beautiful! An expression of admiration appeared on the scar-faced man's face. "Is this the raw material for immortality?" "Captain, these are merely lantern jellyfish. Whether they hold the key for humans to achieve immortality depends on the company's further research." The scar-faced man asked, "What would happen if I ate them?" "Captain, they are poisonous. Consuming them directly would damage your digestive system." "Understood." The scar-faced man removed the headset, handing it back to the worker and turning to leave. 404 Research Institute. Chun Xiao sat alone in a conference room with a few documents laid out next to him. The round table had 12 chairs, and behind each chair were several devices resembling cameras. Chun Xiao glanced at his watch and gently pressed a button on the table. Shush! 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 As the switch was pressed, humanoid projections began to appear on the round table. In the blink of an eye, all 12 chairs were occupied. Chun Xiao, why on earth did you request a remote conference? Do you have any idea how expensive this equipment is? If you can't present something satisfactory to us? The meeting had just started, and 2 attendees were already speaking with evident impatience. Chun Xiao remained silent and pressed another switch. Instantly, projections of documents appeared in front of everyone. The attendees paused for a moment, then began to read. As time passed, some even had tears forming in their eyes. Chun Xiao, is this true? Chun Xiao, have you really found a way to incorporate the genes of the lantern jellyfish into other organisms? Living organisms will die because the ends of their chromosomes have a special sequence called telomeres. Due to the structure and mechanism of DNA and chromosomes, with each DNA replication, the telomeres shorten slightly. When the telomeres are completely depleted, a person's life comes to an end. The desire not to die is deeply ingrained in human genetics. The ultimate goal of all life sciences research is to achieve human immortality. The lantern jellyfish, the only known immortal creature in nature, became a common subject of study in many biological science institutions as soon as it was discovered. However, for many years, the progress had been limited, and the dream of eternal life seemed distant. Unexpectedly, research expanded into other areas. For instance, the enhancer elixir consumed by people was a derivative product of the Reed Group's research on lantern jellyfish. It's impossible. A person with a research background immediately countered. Gene editing is limited to homologous recombination. If you replace human genes with those of the lantern jellyfish, our genetic chain would collapse. Others also realized their overreaction and turned to Chun Xiao, awaiting his explanation. Chun Xiao smiled slightly. "I've found another way to inherit genes, but it's still under research. We have already merged the genes of the lantern jellyfish with the holy light." Oh, and by the way, holy light is a combination of genes from spiders, mantises, worms, and 16 other creatures. Such genetic editing requires generations to take effect. Is it meaningful for humans? It's relatively simple to merge the genes of two creatures, which usually involves creating a new embryo. However, the more species involved, the more complex the rejection becomes. Qin Zhao's achievement of merging 18 species was already astonishing. More surprisingly, he could also incorporate the genes of the lantern jellyfish. But that wasn't the most important aspect. The key for them was how to apply the method of immortality to themselves. "So, I used a parasitic approach?" Chun Xiao smiled faintly. "Allow me first to introduce the name after merging the lantern jellyfish and holy light." He pressed the switch, and an image of a facehugger appeared before everyone. Its name is Dawn, symbolizing the first light of daybreak. "It's so ugly." "No, I think it is very beautiful." Chun Xiao looked at the facehugger with infatuation and muttered, "This is the future of humanity, and also the mother of humanity." Upon seeing his twisted appearance, everyone present felt uneasy. Someone bluntly said, "Cut the crap. This ultra-frequency communication method is expensive. Just tell us what you want." The fervor in Chen Zhao's eyes faded, and he calmly stated, "In our initial tests, species parasitized by Dawn retained 30% of the original species' genetic traits. Moreover, the new species born are far superior to the parasitized species, able to automatically absorb the advantageous segments from its genetic material. I need more samples. As you all know, our 404 Research Institute has weak military power, unlike you, who have many under your command. Thus, I hope you can help me capture some experimental subjects. What do you need?" "Enhanced humans, from level 1 to level 7, Qin Xiao said. He then turned to a female administrator and remarked, "Hao Ming Yun, I heard that the Reed Group has obtained level 9 enhancers. Can you get me level 8 or level 9 subjects?" "Don't talk nonsense." Hao Ming Yun retorted, "Level 8 and 9 are only for their core members, not for sale. We are from Rizhao. How can one betray them? Aren't you involved with one of their executives? Go to hell. That was just for procreation." Qin Xiao knew he cannot get his hands on level 8 or 9 enhancers in the short term. He continued, "If that's the case, then enhanced humans from level 1 to level 7. Besides human samples, I also need samples from various radiation beasts, mutated carnivorous plants." He paused for a moment, "If possible. I want a mutated beast." "Have you lost your mind? We can't even handle these mutated beasts now. If, according to you, that ugly bug can optimize genes, what if it evolves an even stronger monster?" A cold glint passed through Chun Zhao's eyes when someone referred to the Dawn parasite as an ugly bug. He smirked, "Then forget about the mutated beast samples for now. With Dawn's current ability, it might take decades or even centuries to hatch after parasitizing a mutated beast. We can discuss this once one cultivate a more potent version of Dawn. I'll help you, but in return, I want some of those ugly bugs. Yes, if there are results, we should all share them." Chun Xiao looked at the greed in everyone's eyes and flashed a brilliant smile. "Deal. It's settled." Daily mission refresh. Accompanied by a series of system notifications, Zhao Yu slowly woke up. He struggled to move his body upwards, propped his head up, and leaned against the headboard. He casually grabbed a bottle of water and took 2 gulps. As his consciousness gradually cleared, Zhao Yu started to check his daily mission. Daily mission. Kill an alien. Coordinates. Map. Click to enlarge. Alien. It's indeed formed. Zhao Yu's expression turned solemn. His previous daily tasks were simply to clear out the alien species in the photovoltaic electronics factory. His combat strength back then wasn't much stronger than it is now. But now, the refreshed daily task was to kill just 1 alien. This implied that, in the system's view, the strength of 1 alien creature equaled that of more than 200 of the mutants. Zhao Yu immediately became alert, quickly got up and stepped out of the base. In the distance, The setting sun slowly descended, with half of the sky turning crimson red and the other half darkening. The sunset is getting later. This winter is almost over, Zhao Yu remarked casually. Then seeing the few teams that had already returned, he called for a gathering. Soon, all the soldiers lined up in formation. Roll call. 1, 2, 3. 26 soldiers, none absent. Report the situation by team. After gathering information, Zhao Yu learned of the developments during his sleep. The first and second teams, following his plan, collected resources within a 1-kilometer radius. They eliminated 24 mutants in total and brought back over 1,000 kilograms of ordinary flesh. Additionally, the two teams towed back 2 cars that had crashed in a valley, increasing their supplies of copper, iron, tin, and fabric. They hadn't found much gold or silver, but luckily the previously stored gold and silver were sufficient. The third and fourth teams were responsible for guarding the base. Over the day, they had only killed 1 stray mutant, with no other unusual occurrences. The fifth team's trip to the town was somewhat unexpected for Zhao Yu. Not only were there people there, but they also seemed to have formed a considerable community. Unfortunately, his soldiers were all Al intelligence. They could easily give away their non-human nature when conversing with humans. Zhao Yu, fearing they might expose themselves, hadn't given them orders to actively inquire. Thus, he was unaware of the situation of the town, only naming it Hanjiadich Town based on its old name. At this moment, his technology points had naturally increased to 7, allowing him to redeem the remaining 2 land infantry. 10 minutes later, 2 land infantry were trained, and Zhao Yu received another system notification. 10 trained infantry soldiers. Special Forces option unlocked. Zhao Yu discovered that there were 3 types of Special Forces: Special Forces Cheetah, Special Forces Dragon, and Special Forces Fierce Tiger. The attributes of the 3 Special Forces were different, but the exchange price was not much different. Special Forces Cheetah, Strength, 9, Agility, 13, Stamina, 11, Weight, 50 kilograms, Height, 160 centimeters. Basic skills: Firearms, Master, Close Combat, Master, Sharp Weapons, Master. Exchange requirement: 3 technology points, 55 kilograms of flesh, 1 kilogram of cloth, 30 grams of gold, 300 grams of silver, 1,500 grams of copper. Special Forces Dragon. Strength, 10. Agility, 10. Stamina, 13. Weight, 70 kilograms. Height, 180 centimeters. Basic skills: Firearms, Master, Close Combat, Master, Sharp Weapons, Master. Exchange requirement: 3 technology points, 77 kilograms of flesh, 1 kilogram of cloth, 30 grams of gold, 300 grams of silver, 1,500 grams of copper. Special Forces Fierce Tiger. Strength, 13. Agility, 10. Stamina, 10. Weight, 80 kilograms. Height, 185 centimeters. Basic skills: Firearms, Master, Close Combat, Master, Heavy Arms, Master. Exchange requirement: 3 technology points, 88 kilograms of flesh, 1 kilogram of cloth, 30 grams of gold, 300 grams of silver, 1,500 grams of copper. Note: when the number of Special Forces training reaches 10, the Engineer Exchange option will be activated. The height, weight, and basic attributes are a whole lot different. Zhao Yu found that the 3 Special Forces had distinct characteristics. Cheetahs were shorter and lighter than the soldiers, but their agility was extremely high, reaching 13 points. Even their weakest strength had reached 9 points, which was a little higher than land infantry. The dragon had the body size of a land infantry, but its attributes were much higher than them. Its advantage was in stamina, strength, and agility, which were not too bad either, reaching 10 points. Finally, the Fierce Tiger Special Forces were very tall and heavy. Their advantage lay in their strength. Moreover, their basic skill, Sharp Weapon Mastery, had become Heavy Weapon Mastery. Therefore, cheetahs are fast, dragons have good physical performance, and tigers have great strength. This was simple. They could choose the Special Forces soldiers to train according to their needs. What surprised Zhao Yu was that after he exchanged for 10 Special Forces soldiers, He unlocked an engineering soldier. What do you mean? Can engineers build buildings? There were too few details from the system, so Zhao Yu could only guess. Now that he had 3 technology points left, he could choose to exchange for 3 soldiers or 1 special forces soldier. Zhao Yu hesitated for a moment and chose the special forces. He wanted to exchange for 1 to take a look. Do you want to spend 3 technology points, 88 kilograms of flesh, 1 kilogram of cloth, 30 grams of gold, 300 grams of silver, and 1,500 grams of copper to train a special forces soldier, tiger? Swipe. Cheetahs were more suited for assassination, while the dragon was more comprehensive. On the other hand, the fierce tiger was more suited for strength. Zhao Yu was a little curious about what kind of heavy weapons the system meant. 5 minutes later, a muscular man walked out of the training camp. He was 1.85 meters tall and weighed 88 kilograms. There was not a single ounce of fat on his body, especially his chest muscles. They were firm and powerful, and it felt like his vest was about to burst. Special Unit 001, Fierce Tiger, reporting to Commander. As soon as the Special Unit soldier opened its mouth, a ferocious aura assaulted Zhao Yu, causing him to take a step back. But he quickly realized that these were his soldiers. Good, good, good. Zhao Yu exclaimed, good, 3 times. Unable to curb his curiosity, he leaned in to touch the tiger's muscles. So firm. When he touched the biceps of the tiger, Zhao Yu was immensely surprised. That one arm felt thicker than his thigh. Someone like the tiger, if placed in ancient times, would undoubtedly be considered a great warrior. While normal strength was 5 points, the tiger's strength reached 13 points. This made Zhao Yu curious. He wondered whether, in the enhancer system, the tiger would be considered a first-tier enhancer. What does mastery in heavy weapons in your basic skills mean? Reporting to the commander, I can skillfully use man-portable rocket launchers, handheld Gatling guns, and other heavy individual weapons. Zhao Yu scratched his head. He didn't possess these weapons at the moment, so he couldn't truly grasp the concept of skillfully using these weapons single-handedly. All right, for now, you'll act as my personal guard, ensuring my safety, and, when necessary, taking a bullet for me. Understood, Commander. The tiger shouted loudly. Zhao Yu felt like his ears were about to shatter. He inserted his pinky into his ear, saying, You could speak a bit softer. Understood, Commander. The tiger shouted in his usual manner, not lowering his volume at all. 1111. Zhao Yu got it. The owl chip probably didn't have the functionality to control volume. Nevertheless, this didn't diminish his admiration for the tiger. When I have more tech points, I'll get a bunch of tigers to accompany me. That'll make me feel super secure. With this, Zhao Yu's tech points were depleted, but the number of soldiers under his command reached 29. Including himself, there were a total of 30. Among them were 18 conscripted soldiers, 10 land infantry, and 1 special forces soldier. Each person had 1 or 2 military bayonets. The remaining dozen or so didn't have guns, and even if they did, there were no bullets for now. The munitions factory didn't require tech points to exchange for firearms. Zhao Yu directly swapped for dozens of them. Although they lacked bullets, they could at least be equipped with bayonets for combat. After exchanging for more than 10 rifles, Zhao Yu also successfully unlocked the option for machine guns. Create 10 machine guns and activate the mortar option. He's here. It's heading in the right direction of the cannon. Zhao Yu immediately felt excited, but his excitement was soon replaced by a bit of dismay. He didn't have any ammunition. He would have to set up the tank factory, energy station, and mining factory to produce ammunition. By his calculations, this would take at least 6 days, or maybe even 8 or 10 days. Oh well, it will come eventually. There are many types of machine guns. There are handheld light machine guns for assaults, universal machine guns that can be held or mounted on fixed defense points. In addition, there are vehicular machine guns that can be attached to cars, aerial machine guns for planes, and naval machine guns that can be mounted on ships. Furthermore, based on their range, there are horizontal machine guns with short and low stands, and anti-aircraft machine guns with taller stands that can aim downward to hit farther targets. There's also a type of machine gun with armor on both sides of its body, which can be used as a bullet shield to protect the gunner. Each type of machine gun has multiple options, allowing for choices based on range, power, rate of fire, weight, and ammunition capacity. Zhao Yu specifically called Tiger over to inquire about which machine guns he could operate single-handedly. One can use all types of portable machine guns. Zhao Yu went through the list of portable machine guns, ranging from the lightest at 10 kilograms to the heaviest, weighing up to 100 kilograms. The names of the models also seemed mythical, starting from the Drill machine gun and Moe's machine gun, to names like Fire God and Thug, which sounded much more powerful. Zhao Yu quickly found the heaviest one, the M61A1 Fire God cannon. What shocked him was that this machine gun also had options for aerial and naval mounts, meaning it could be fitted on aircraft and ships. Weight, 120 kilograms. Muzzle velocity, 1,036 meters per second. Maximum firing rate, 6,000. Zhao Yu exchanged for this Fire God, which could more aptly be called a machine cannon. Holy crap, can you actually lift this? Looking at the nearly 2-meter-long weapon on the delivery rack, Zhao Yu looked incredulously at Tiger. Reporting, Commander. I can lift it? Tiger replied seriously. Lift it, let me see. Zhao Yu asked him to demonstrate. Without a word, Tiger walked up and hung the carrying strap around his neck, waist, and arm. He then stood up, effortlessly lifting the nearly 2-meter-long cannon. One hand was supporting the middle bottom of the barrel, and the other was on the thick hydraulic switch. Sadly, the gun was without bullets, and the entire ammo chain was empty. Zhao Yu counted, and this Gatling-style Fire God M61A1 had 6 barrels. When firing, these barrels would rotate automatically, effectively reducing barrel temperature and wear, meeting the requirements for rapid fire.